All right, welcome everyone. My name is Joe Martinez. This is our Thursday morning production call. Man, we got an exciting one. Um, just a ton of y'all are doing some massive activity. If y'all been on band, you see everyone putting up 200 dial days, right? 150, 100 dial. I mean, y'all are crushing it right now. And it's one of the reasons why a ton of us are, as organizations and individuals, are breaking records, APV wise. So just super proud of all of y'all. And I just want to bring sure we bring a couple of things that'll help you value, right? And go through the process of, hey, I'm dialing a lot, I'm sitting with more folks than ever. And so one of the things we've been talking about a lot with a whole bunch of agents right now is just your posture. If you haven't read the book Happiness Advantage, highly suggest you go do that. Write that one down. It's the Happiness Advantage. It's a really good book. I'm going to talk about a lot of things that it talks about. Um, but it helped a ton of us during production. So we're going to go through stuff like that. And so I'll just go through some normal stuff I go through before our call. One is this is an hour-long call. I don't want you to sit here for no reason and just listen to us talk. Highly suggest go grab a pen and paper. Please go grab a pen and paper. Write some stuff down. We're going to write, it's an hour long. You're going to get a lot of information. Do not go and change your entire appointment and how you run it. Just simply grab two or three things that stand out that say, hey, I'm not doing that in my appointment. Sounds like that could help me. Write it down and then literally go try to put it into your next appointment. That's the hard part, right? We get a lot of, we'll either listen to SoundCloud audios, jump on these production calls. It's like great information. And then we go get into our appointment and we don't change anything, right? I want y'all to practice, right? Two or three things and go implement it into your appointment. That's the hardest thing, but that's how you get a little bit better every single time. We continue to do that. We counsel with each other, right? Right now, Amber's crushing it in our base shop. And I'm like, Amber, what are you doing right now? I'm asking questions, right? Because it changes, it goes back and forth, right? Just be a humble producer and say, hey, we can always get a little bit better. Um, Anything that y'all do get and go implement. If it helped you in your appointment, it helped you help a family, what we humbly ask is you post it on band. Hey, I just did this from, right, got this off of a production call, right? Right, whoever said it, put it in there, what it helped. It really does help us as a whole organization, right? Because other agents get to see and they're like, hey, that worked for that person. Let me go try that as well. We're just one really big team, and I love how we work together to do stuff like that. So that's my humble ask. And let's get started. This is very interactive. Please feel free to unmute. You don't have to put questions on the chat. Just raise your hand, unmute yourself, as long as it's topic related. I want to make sure we answer all your questions um, so that we can help you write some business. So I'm going to start again with the happiness advantage, right? As you take your journey of becoming a producer, right? I love to talk about this or think about this, right? If you're brand new, you're sitting with a few families a week. You're excited, right? Because they're your first couple of ones. And I remember, right, every single time, right, we have a new agent. They're like, oh my God, I got my appointments. I'm so stoked. You're super prepped for them. The happiness advantage already exists. You are super excited about your first couple of appointments. It's usually why new agents write their first policies, right? They're excited. They got so much energy. They tried to do all the right things, right? By prepping and getting on the appointment. They got a huge smile. They're like, oh my God, this is my first appointment, right? Like energy is through the roof. It's fun, right? What starts to happen is you sit with more, you start trying to take a journey of, I want to be a better producer. That simply means, if you remember the book Go for No, you get more no's. This is 100% mental game. The more dials you make, the more appointments you book, the more no's you're going to get. It will crush you. I promise. You will mentally feel crushed. Thoughts in your head. I'm not a good producer. I'm not good at this. I can't do this. I am struggling, right? You get all kinds of thoughts in your heads, but realize it's part of the process because you're sitting with more people. That mathematically means you're going to get more no's. So if you're not prepared for it, it's going to beat you up, right? One thing, please write down is you read 10 pages a day in the morning. That should be a non-negotiable. If you want to take a journey of I want to be a 200 dial club person, 100 dials a day or higher, you better be reading your 10 pages in the morning, because I promise you it will crush you. That's part of the happiness advantage. You got to be mentally prepared for what's about to happen, right? You're going to get beat up on the phone. So it's hilarious too, because sometimes it's not even verbal beat up. It's just no result beat up, right? Like you right? Like it's just all you. Like you dialed all day, you talked to 15 people, and you book one appointment. It's like, it's horrible, right? And guess what? Nobody beat you up but yourself, right? And you have to be mentally prepared. That's why when they created the workroom, it was probably the greatest thing ever in the world, because now we can do this together. There is no reason you are in your room by yourself dialing 200 dials, 50 dials, 100 dials, mentally putting yourself through some stress because you're bored or you're not getting results or somebody yelled at you. Why would you do this by yourself when there's so many of us here? Go into a workroom. Please go into a workroom. Get a running buddy. There is no reason you're trying to figure this out by yourself. The workroom is the greatest thing. If you are working, you should be in a room so that you're not by yourself trying to figure this out. So when somebody yells at you, you can laugh with everybody else. In fact, yesterday I was in an appointment and they started getting crazy with me. What I did is I jumped into the workroom. I'm like, here, y'all got to listen to this. And the appointment, let me tell you, because I jumped into the workroom and they were being so feisty at the beginning, I don't know what happened. They ended up loving me and wanting coverage, because I didn't let their how does Nate say it, right? I didn't let their posture be in control of my posture, right? Because I was able to jump in a workroom, and then it became funny. I'm like, oh, y'all gotta listen to this, and they were telling me all kinds of random stuff, right? Next thing you know, I was laughing, but because I had the happiness advantage, I was literally just smiling because I was in the room with my buddies and I wanted them to hear what was about to go down. Let me tell you, I was able to turn that appointment around. So again, highly suggest y'all do that. I want to talk a little bit about the happiness advantage, right? If you haven't read the book, I'm just going to give y'all some cool little tips. It's the energy y'all put out, right? A lot of it has to do with affirmations as well, but it's just the energy you put out, right? How excited are you? Right? I always pick on James on this one, right? I really started to understand this one, James, right? When James is like, hey, I want to be a top producer too. And I'm like, great, well, let me hear you run an appointment. I heard him run an appointment. I'm like, damn, that was the most boring appointment I've ever heard, James. I would have jumped off like 20 minutes ago. Right? But because he was he was just reading the script, he was doing a great job, but he just wasn't excited about it. And you got to understand, right? This is still, at the end of the day, it's still sales. It's still helping people. There's still somebody on the other side, right? So what happens is James was, and James, you can jump in at any time. James was at a frustrating point in his career here, right? He was struggling with production, trying to figure it out, right? So, and we go back to, okay, I want to do this correctly, like doing all the right things, but I want y'all to think about this. He was like, okay, I'm going to follow the script, Joe. I'm going to do it correctly, right? But it was the tone that he was doing it in, because he was focused, right? We forget how we sound. And remember, there's somebody on the other end, right? We just read the book, right? How to Influence People. Remember, there's somebody on the other end listening to you, right? How are you supposed to influence a family to have trust, right? How are you going to influence the family that says that you're telling them, hey, I'm here to help you, when you don't look like you're there to help them? Right. And what I mean by that is, how do you sound? Right. So when James was reading his script, again, he was reading the script, doing all the right things. He was in his role and purpose. I remember the role and purpose from him. It was for me, it was hilarious, right? Because he didn't have it memorized, but this is how he sounded, right? It was so, right, just one tone. Yeah, my role and purpose today is to simply find you the most amount of coverage for the least amount of premium. I'm the agent assigned to you. And what we'll do today is I'm just going to go over some health conditions. If we have any, we'll go over your budget.
I hang up already.
Right. Right. It was so, right. A lot of it has to do, y'all have heard me say this before, right? Go say your scripts 100 times and you should have it memorized. If we're telling y'all can make $100,000 a year, all you're 8 pages away from 100K, right? Why do you not have the three tools, right? The best script to book an appointment, the role and purpose, and why do you not have those memorized? You are fighting yourself on making this kind of income because you refuse to go learn those three things. Okay. If you worked anywhere else, James, I love what we were talking about yesterday, right? James worked in a call center. You had to follow it script by script, word for word, your script. His manager would randomly pick calls. And if they didn't follow script, they'd get written up. They did it 3 times. So think about it. How many of y'all have your script memorized? Don't raise your hands, right? A lot of us don't. But what if I told you, I would just handpick your last appointment, and if I didn't hear you following the script correctly, if I didn't hear you say your role and purpose correctly, and I didn't hear you run the real script correctly, I would write you up. If I heard you do it 3 times, you no longer work here at Symmetry.
That's the way it was. Seriously.
No, that's real life, right? Everywhere else you go, if you work in a call center, and in case y'all don't know, we kind of work in a call center. We call people and we help them.
And it all starts with the best script too. Like how many of you have that memorized? Because I had to have it memorized before I could even get on the phones.
Our servers, right, James, at the restaurant, we would not allow them to wait a table unless they knew a 6-page script, Sam. Then they had to know everything that are on our menu. They would have to weigh on the managers first, and then we literally had a little checklist. If they couldn't go through it, nope, you failed. You cannot serve a table. And that was for a serving position. Here, y'all can make 150,000. Dylan Crane earlier, right on the other call, makes 100,000 in deposits in a month. That's what's possible. But let me tell you, I bet you Dylan Crane knows his scripts, right? Think about that, right? If you're running an appointment, if you're booking and you don't know your script, right? Why, right? You would be fired anywhere else, right? Where I come from with this as a happiness advantage is because, right, I just showed y'all how James sounded. I promise y'all that's how y'all sound if y'all are reading the script. Versus if I have it memorized, right, my role and purpose sounds like this because I don't have to look at anything and I'm excited about it and I can move it around wherever I need to based on the conversation, right? So, hey, James, again, my role and purpose today is to simply find you the most amount of coverage for the least amount of premium. The way I get to do that is I work with all the insurance carriers that do this. So I've shopped around for you, right? What I'm going to do today in our appointment is just simply go over any health conditions if you have any, right? Hopefully not. You're 23, so you should be good, right? I'll go over your budget a little bit, not to be nosy. Some families don't need this kind of coverage, right? Because they got plenty of it. Or they have $1 million in their bank account or a rich uncle. Right? I get to play with my script and have all the energy I want because I'm not busy trying to read it. Right? Until you memorize it, yes, read it. But you should get to a point, right, where you don't need that piece of paper. This is how you make a living, right? And then that's how you can have the energy, right? And be excited about it. So one of the biggest things on happiness advantages, right, is how do you sound? Record yourself. You should never be one tone, right? There should be serious conversations, right? Like, hey, right, what I'm going to do is, so on the health condition, right? Okay, so you've had cancer, man. Okay. How's that? How are you at that without you? Oh, you're cured? You're right cancer free right now for how many years? Wow, congratulations. Right? Like that's amazing. Right? Like your tone should be changing up and down through your entire appointment based on what you're talking about, what they said, right? If they're telling you a sad story, it should be like, oh my God, right? Like, what? Right? They're telling you some exciting things like, oh, this is your first purchase. Man, you're 25. Dude, you're crushing it. Right? I was 32 when I bought my first home. And you're 23. That's amazing. Right? Listen to how my tone is changing every single time. They truly feel I want to help them. Right? How do you sound in your appointment is super important, right? And the reason we bring this up is we've been working with a whole bunch of agents these past couple of weeks. They're sitting with a whole bunch of folks. Guess what? They're going to get declines. How do you sound on a decline? Right? What does your face look like when you get declined? Right? Because you wrote the policy and do you go, oh, man, it looks like Mutual of Omaha declined you. Like, man, I'm freaking out. Hold on, let me call somebody, right? You're doing the right things, right? I'm calling my upline in the appointment, but what does your happiness advantage look like at that moment, right? You're discouraging them, right? Remember, people naturally mirror the person in front of them. It's a natural reaction, right? So if all of a sudden you look stressed because their policy got declined and you're like, oh God, no, right? They're going to feel the exact same way. Y'all want to know why we're so good at pivoting, and James is probably better at it than me. James, anything you can add, right? Is because, oh, it's nothing to us. Oh, I even laugh. Mutual of Omaha didn't take you. It's all right. We're gonna go over here, and then, oh, look, it's a dollar more. So great news is, right, they're gonna probably get you accepted, and then we're on to the next, right? Or there's like, oh man, and then you add to it. Oh God, it looks like they declined you. I don't know why. Maybe it's something on your report. Um, you told me you were healthy, but are you sure? Did
I
you
swear
have
to God.
anything? What was the medication you were taking? Can you spell that for me? Can you go grab that medication? Right? Because maybe it's that, right? And then I start, right? Are you thinking of reasons you're going to decline your client at this point? Right? Or is it like, no worries, we're going to try the next one, we're going to get you approved. My job is to get you approved. I made y'all a promise. I got you. They're going to want to go through that part versus I start drilling them on, man, I don't know why they declined. Who cares? The machine said no, go to the next app. Right? That's why we have a process, right? Call your upline, figure out what the next one is. But why would you make them feel bad about getting declined when sometimes they really don't know? Right? So think about that, right? Because again, your posture is going to mimic them and how your happiness looks like. So again, right, you got to be conscious. Are you smiling? Right? Are you excited? Right? You got to look at those little things, your background too, right? Do you look like you're in a dungeon? Right? Because that'll matter, right? Does it look like you're somewhere, right? I mean, you got to make sure, right? It makes them feel comfortable, right? And your background could be almost anything, as long as it's bright. That's the biggest thing, right? Make sure it's just bright. Make sure it doesn't look like you're working in a dungeon. Me personally, I don't like blurred anything or fake backgrounds. I want them to see I'm a real person. I want their comfort level to be all the way up. They see everything right here. They know I'm working out of my office, right? In my home office, wherever it may be. Just make sure your lighting is good. Sound and audio as well, right? And visual, right? Make sure y'all have clear cameras, little things like that matter, right? All that, it's the happiness advantage, right? Do you want your client like this, trying to look at you? Right? Like it was funny, but if y'all saw Mark on our huddle earlier, right? We were laughing at him because he goes like this. This is why I don't like blurred backgrounds. Because every time you move, something of you disappears, right? So his top hair would disappear every time he went into the blurred, right? Like people are looking at that. Y'all got to pay attention to stuff like that, right? That's the happiness advantage because they want to feel trust. They want to feel they're talking to someone good, right? And then your audio, really important. Y'all do mic checks, right? So that's why it's really good to hop in the workroom. Hey, everyone can hear me, right? We were just doing a huddle right now, and one of our new agents, right? The sound sounded really far away, right? So do you want your client, right? Either they're listening to you on the phone or they're going to get frustrated off of something really silly, right? And then once they hit that frustrated point, right? There's no return. I don't care how good of appointment you run. They're tired of going like, what was that? Right? Like what? And having to repeat it, they get frustrated, right? So we're professionals. We make 100K. Make sure your audio and your sound, right? And your visual looks good. You sound good. You sound clear, right? Sometimes it breaks randomly. Go get a new mic, right? It happens. It's part of being business, right? But make sure y'all are always on top of that. If you're using a laptop and just your laptop, say, right, hop in the room with someone. Hey, Maddie, can you hear me? Right, tell me, do I sound funny? Right, and if you're doing that for someone, tell them the truth, please. Right, don't tell them, you sound okay. No, hey, you know what? You sound a little funny. It sounds blurred, or you sound a little far away. I don't hear you nice and clear. right? Like invest in these things. Like I'll pick on Micah, right? Has a really cool microphone, right? Me and James upgraded to big mics, right? I don't know if I can show y'all.
Well, I did first, but I knew he
You
was
did,
getting
right?
jealous.
Like we got really big mics and stuff, right? Because we wanted to make sure we sounded clear. I think it was like $15, right? Or something like that, James. Maybe 30. I don't remember. It was cheap. I was like, oh, we can get this really cool mic for nothing, right? Like invest in your business so that you sound good, clear audio, right? Because that's again, it's the happiness advantage. They're going to get frustrated. That's where they stop being happy because they're like, what do you sound like? And I can't see this person, right? Just you got to start thinking of things like that. It's going to make a big difference. um I don't know, before we go to the next part, anyone have any questions on that, right? Like how do you sound, how do you, right?
Can I comment?
Yeah, absolutely.
Man, I literally took so many notes from Kelly Bush the other day.
Right.
One of the notes I literally wrote, I don't even know where it is, but I wrote she seemed, and I don't write this about many people, like it's kind of weird to write about someone, but from the get-go, 2 minutes in, I was like writing down, she's trustworthy. She comes off trustworthy because of her clarity, her background, even the way she was dressed. Like I'm kind of thinking to myself, dang, I'm in a sweatshirt today. I've got 6 appointments. I should put on a nicer shirt. I should brush my hair probably, you know? And no, Sam's laughing, but like seriously. And I have a microphone. Why don't I use that? So this is just, you're so right that people do notice that and it builds a layer of trust. I just had a comment
But
because
on average now we're making about $700 per policy per family you help, right? And if you're writing multiple apps, that means you're probably making $1,000 in a home. Give it $1,000 worth of work effort. like give it some love, because if you're not making $1,000 on an appointment and when they say yes, it's probably because you didn't put the effort into it, right? From scripts, from visuals, happiness, right? Like we get paid to do this, right? And I think so many times, again, because we're where we sit with, right? We have 8 appointments today on the books, Brooke, right? And we already got 3 no-shows. The first one we jumped on just straight up didn't even let me run my script. They were super mean. They were rude. They cut me off. So now my next appointment, I'm already just crushed, right? I'm like, whatever. I'm gonna show up late, right? Like, how excited are you, right? You got to be more inside out than outside in. What I mean by that is you can't let outside things affect you daily, right? Me and my wife argue sometimes. My kids piss me off sometimes, and I still got to come in here and run a really good appointment. I cannot let them, because this is how I make my income. It's not manual work. Before, it was simple. I owned a car wash. I just needed to make sure the car was clean, right? I was the manager at the restaurant. I just needed to make sure everyone was in their sections. Had nothing to do with how excited, how good I was in that little one particular moment. This is because you're about to run an appointment with someone and we're consultants. You better be on your game, right? So it's little things like that. Um, I think, right? Happiness, smiling. Everybody, any other comments before I go into the next part? The next part's going to be, um, I want to make sure when we're talking about the happiness advantage and we're being excited, I think a term we use or we throw around a lot is being polite is also part of being happy, right? But there's too much polite. And when I say polite, I want y'all to write this down. I just learned this one like a year and a half ago from 130 from Dan, no, who was it? From Carl Miller. I was in Dallas, but we had an appointment. I was a little bit late because I was running something and I showed up and I'm like, man, I'm sorry. He goes, don't ever be sorry, Joe. He goes, just say, I appreciate your patience. And that just stuck to me, right? Sorry means there's a problem. I'm apologizing. You should not have to apologize for anything you do. You are a working professional. And it just stuck to me, right? Stop being sorry. Write that down. Stop being sorry. You should never say, I'm sorry this happened. I'm sorry this company declined you. I'm sorry this. I'm sorry I'm late. I'm sorry. He goes, this stuck with me. He goes, just why don't you appreciate that they're patient with you? So when I'm late for an appointment because I'm in another one or I'm doing whatever it may be, I never say, I'm sorry I'm late. I'll be there in 15 minutes. Like, hey, I appreciate your patience. Be there in 5, be there in 15. Everyone, when I made that change, Amber, everyone says, absolutely no worries. See you in 15. Versus when I would type, I'm sorry, it created a problem.
It makes people combative. They're like, yeah, you
Very
should be
convinced. Yeah, he
sorry.
told me that. And I was like, dude, that was like the greatest gold ever. Because now you just told them you messed up. So now there's a problem. Well, I've been waiting here in Zoom for 15 minutes versus no worries, Joe. We're here whenever you're ready. Because I'd say, hey, I appreciate your patience. I'm still with my appointment. Be there in 15. So much confidence in that versus, hey, I'm sorry. I'm still with my other home, right? Like, no, we've been here, right? You just allowed you. Oh, they weren't even thinking it. You created the problem by the words, I'm sorry. So I want y'all to think about that, right? Happiness advantage, right? How are we talking? How are we communicating? You should never be sorry. You are 150,000. You work, write this down if y'all haven't, if you didn't know this, write this down. You work for the 9th highest paying company in the country.
The world.
In the world, Craig. We make bank here. You work for the 9th highest paying company. If you don't feel like you're working for the 9th, let's work on it. Because I promise you are. It's just little things that we got to tweak.
One
Right?
thing that Joe, that you and I have worked on with me is, you know, and I've heard it put another way as well, being kind versus being nice, right? You can be too nice. You can let them walk over you. You got to be
Nice is broke.
Exactly. And it's true, right?
Brooke laughs because I told her that.
It's absolutely true, right? You can be nice and you probably won't book that appointment. You can be kind and care about that family and the family you have after them. And maybe you're going to talk over them. Maybe you're going to interrupt them a little bit. Maybe you're going to ask those hard questions in that appointment that aren't nice questions to ask,
Right.
but they're kind questions, right? So don't be afraid of that.
Yep. Sorry doesn't mean that you're being polite, right? Sorry means there's a problem. I hope that sticks with all of y'all like it stuck with me. I am not sorry for anything I do because let me tell you, if y'all have ever been coached by me, I go to sleep every single night knowing I gave this my all. Sometimes I'm not 100%. Tuesday may have been a bad day. Wednesday was a great day. Whatever it may be, I know I gave it my all today. That's what keeps me in a happiness advantage. I don't ever feel like I didn't give this my all. Now, here's the thing. My all is different every single day, right? Because I do get sick. I do get upset. I do not like what I do sometimes, right? But I was at my best at that moment. And as long as you're doing that, holy cow, y'all are going to crush this. Right? Stop being sorry. That doesn't mean you're polite, right? You're creating an argument. It's, hey, I appreciate your patience, right? Just we reword things to where there's not a mistake, right? Again, did a doctor ever say when you showed up to the doctor and they made you wait 45 minutes or an hour and then they finally got you into your appointment, right? Because they were behind or something happened. Did they ever say, oh, I'm sorry. Thanks for waiting? No, they say, hey, thanks for waiting. Right? I appreciate y'all's patience, right? We've been busy all day. Right? Like it's just how you're verbalizing yourself, right? And what you're communicating, right? You need to be excited. I'm excited if there's a line to talk to Joe. That means my bit, right? It's just like a restaurant. You go to the restaurant that there's a line at, not the empty one, right? That means there's good food there, right? If there's a line to talk to Joe, that means I'm doing good. I'm excited. Hey, I appreciate your patience, Brooke. I'll get back to you in about 2 hours when I'm done with my appointments and I'm done responding to all my other texts. Right? Like we are busy, right? And treat yourself that way and don't be sorry, right? Like we're busy, right? Appreciate their patience. Man, when Carl Miller told me that, it has changed my world because I didn't do anything bad, right? So why are you sorry? You didn't make a mistake. Right. So that's a really good verbiage one. Body language, right? Same thing, right? Are you using your hands? Are you excited? That's why Zoom is so important because you could read theirs so they can read yours, right? If you see something's wrong with their face, hey, you need to fix it, right? Like if they're looking upset, if they're looking, right, like they don't want to pay attention. If somebody's on my Zoom and they just have a face like they don't want to be here, I will cut them off. I'm like, hey, is this something that you really interested in, Sam? I just want to make sure I'm not wasting your time. I want to be respectful of it, right? But I mean, did you want me to go over the mortgage for that? No, not really, Joe. I don't want this. I was just being polite. Thanks. Bye. I can't tell you, right?
Wait, I love this.
It was
Like,
never
that
an
needs a
appointment.
pause, dude. That I've been here for a year. Tell me why I'm still doing that. That is, I mean, seriously, every day I get in here, every week I get a nugget, and that's my nugget right there. Is
It's huge, right?
if they're don't waste your time.
It was never an appointment. We're just desperate because we want our apps wherever you're at. I get it, right? Trust me, their body language is telling you if they want it, right?
Go for it.
They're excited, right? Or they're telling you they don't, right? You just start reading these signs, right? Because trust me, anyone that looked like they didn't want to be there, I never wrote an app, Nate. Right? Like it's insane, right? Like you get to read them as well. Again, be excited about this. You get to make $700 per application if you start getting really good at this and excited about it. You just simply have to attract it.
And I think an important thing there, Joe, is because we all know it's impossible to read people 100% accuracy. I don't care how good you are, and I'm not that good. But don't be afraid to ask, because you will have those cranky, crabby people. And I tell you what, those are some of the biggest apps you will write. They will tell you every excuse on the planet, and you're like, yeah, we'll go for the $350 option. You're like, what?
Yep.
They need this.
They could be the most dry people in the appointment.
Yeah, but ask, right? Say, hey, I just want to make sure, is this actually something that's important for you folks?
Yeah.
And
And grumpy, they'll be like, yes, Nate, just keep going.
yeah, keep going, right? Why are we doing this? And you're like, okay, that's all I needed.
Yesterday's appointment, right? When I jumped in there because they were being rude, they told me that a different agent had ruined their experience, charged their card or their account, right? And they were pissed. They wanted nothing to do with me. I'm like, hey, and they kept talking, and I was like, hey, I just want to make sure, it sounds like y'all don't want to do business. I don't want anything to do with y'all being upset, right? I mean, they didn't even let me finish the sentence because they knew where I was headed. I was cutting them off. I was done. They're like, no, 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 no. Well, what can you do for us? Right? I just simply asked, right? It felt like this is going to waste my time. And they kept going. I don't want to hear 15 more minutes of how some other agent ruined their bank account and they had to do all this other stuff. I'm like, hey, look, it sounds like y'all have had a really bad experience. I am truly sorry. I don't work for that company. I can just tell you, right? I'm in Laughlin, right? Because we live really close. He's in Vegas. I just want to be respectful. Sounds like y'all don't want help. My job is just to simply help y'all, right? And it sounds like y'all have really bad. I don't want anything to do with that. They're like, no, no, no. What can you do for us? Because they felt that, hey, I understood their situation. I wasn't sorry that, right, that I didn't do anything wrong. So I just needed I needed clarity. Do you want me to help you or not? And they went into detail. They're like, yes, we want a policy with critical illnesses and all this stuff, right? Because some other agent tried to sell them. I'm like, sweet, I can help you with that, but do you want me to? It was funny. I tried to get out of that appointment like 5 times after that. I'm like, I just want to make sure because they're going to ask for your bank information. I don't want y'all to feel uncomfortable. Well, I guess we could try, right? I'm like, okay, right. So, I mean, again, it's how you treat it, right? I was excited. My excitement was never based on their unfortunate, right, situation they had with a different agent. My posture, right? Like Nate, you said it, right? Their posture, their feelings are not going to dictate how I feel about me and my posture, right? I'm here to help. Do you want my help or not? Right? Are you going to invest or not? Right? I'm here to help. And they feel that. They feel it's sincere. It's insane, right? But my excitement always stayed really high. Let's see. Let's go into, right? So we're excited. How do you feel? How do you sound? The next one is, right, words that you're using, right? Because again, that's exciting too, right? So are you explaining options excited too, right? Because we've been talking to a couple of agents. They're like, right, my app count or my APV is low, right? It's only low because you're not excited about showing a $200 or $300 policy. You're not excited about a $500 policy. Well, let me tell you, you should be. Remember, we get paid based on the value and the impact we make on a home. So change your perspective, because if you're writing a really big monthly premium, that means you are helping that family in more ways than ever. If you don't understand that, you still don't understand what you do here.
And
We
it's
get
not just in the
paid,
tone of your voice either. Your face says a lot.
yeah, we get paid on the impact per home. And if the premium is higher, that just means more impact. Yes, it means more commission, which is great, but it literally means more impact, because our job is not to pay off their home. Our job is to get them the most amount of coverage for the least amount of premium based on their age, health, and budget. That's our job. Find them the most amount of coverage for the least amount of premium based on their age, health, and budget. Right? So if it's just a bigger policy, that just means you're impacting that home bigger. That's all that means, right? Alicia, you wrote a 500, how much was that? 300, $400?
Yeah, so it was 438 per month,
Boom.
which I had to get past that myself. And
Right?
I'm glad I did. And this was it was a weird appointment because when we started, the payoff for his loan was only like 180,000, and we just kept running numbers. He said, up it. Okay.
Price has nothing to do with this business.
Mm-mm.
It's what it does, not what it is. If you are writing small apps, you just need to right? It means you're doing small impact. It's okay, wherever you're at. Create more impact, right? Help them in a bigger way. You get bigger premiums, you get bigger commissions. That's right how we make income. My favorite audio for that in SoundCloud, write this one down, is emotional labor. So you go into SoundCloud Symmetry, emotional labor. When I truly understand what that guy was saying, we get paid on emotions and impact. There's not a big screen TV, right? Alicia wrote a $400 app. Every month they got to pay $400. You don't even got to do that for a big screen TV. It's not like they walk into the living room and see that big 85-inch screen TV, right? So you have to, that emotion has to be as high as possible for them. When they remember you on the 15th, we've done coaching on this. Do they remember you on the 15th when that $400 premium drafts? They're like, wow, thank you, Alicia, right? Because you made an impact in my home. I got the coverage I wanted. That's why when the way you explained it and the fact that they said, I want more, price never mattered at that point. It was what it does. I wanted to do more. Show me that premium. Oh, that's it, $350. I wanted to do more. $400. That's okay. I wanted to do more. $450. Great, let's do that. Right? It's the impact. It's what it does, not what it is. How excited. Now, here's the cool part on this part. How do you look and how do you sound when you're showing these bigger apps? Right? Like Amber was saying, do you cringe when you say, and that 6-month payment, right? That 6-month mortgage option, it's going to be $350. Look at my face. $350, Amber. Right? Or I had somebody laugh at me 2 weeks ago. Sam, they go, oh, that's cute. Only? Because I go, oh yeah. And so the 6-month mortgage payment, that's only $258. And then this one, right? And the 9-month mortgage option, that means, right, Mary, you pass away, you're gonna leave your daughter 9 months worth of mortgage payment. That's only $325. And she's like, oh, that's cute. Only. Like, what? For 6 months worth, it's only $325. And she's like, I like it. I like it. She goes, let's go ahead and do that one. Right. And but she laughed at the fact that I was saying only, because she's like, I know it's not only, but I get it. Because
And your
it's
face
gonna do
says a
this.
lot. Like
And
our
my
face.
face says a lot, right? I'm excited. In fact, in case y'all forgot, we get paid off based off the premium you write. I am excited when I get to help a family. Again, yeah, it's bigger commissions to me, but that means it's more impact. That means it's harder to get them covered. That means it's more than likely to be used, right? Because do y'all understand, right? They're 75, 80, the premium's $300, not because of other than the fact that more than likely they're going to pass away very soon and the insurance company is going to lose money. In case y'all don't know how some of the insurance companies start to lose money after 75. because more than likely that client's going to pass away soon. Right? They make their money off of young folks starting a policy for 5, 10, 15 years and turning it off and never paying out. Right? That's why they're a $1 billion company. Right? So the higher the premium, the more reality is that they're going to use it. I just got a death claim 2 days ago from a client I wrote 3 years ago, paying $89, and they're going to get paid, I think it was $12,000. They didn't put half of what they were going to get doubled. The insurance company's losing. I am excited when I get to show those kind of options because I know what it really does. Right? So how do you sound when you're explaining these options, right? Critical period and equity protection is one of the hardest things for an agent to get because you are still understanding insurance and you think, why would I show a $12,000 policy on a $400,000 mortgage and their monthly mortgage payment is $2,800 or $3,000 and it's only paying $6,000 out or whatever it may be? You're like, that doesn't make sense. What are you talking about? The equity in the home is even bigger. You're not selling them a $10,000 payout. You're selling them 6 months worth of mortgage payment so that when they sell the home, they have that $100,000 equity that gets to go to that person. That's why it's called equity protection. I am excited when I get to show that option.
If you make it a big deal, they make it a big deal. So if your face is just, hey, right, like $10,000 is $300 a month.
Yeah. Right. How do you sound when you're going over those options for them?
And Joe, let me tell you, when my dad had a stroke in 2020, had somebody came to us and said, hey, you've got 6 months. My dad it was happened in 2020. We weren't able to see him. He was in a nursing home. He was the youngest one in the nursing home because he had a stroke at 56. Everyone was like 70, 60s, 80s, you know, and had someone, even if we weren't planning on selling his house, if someone had just came for 6 months for us to pay his bills, get things in order, that would have been huge. So for anybody on here that might need that, like if for somebody that gives you the pushback of, hey, what if I don't want to sell my house? I want to stay in this house. Well, you've got 6 months that you're ahead of the game for anything to happen. So it is really about like posture when you're showing critical period. And I enjoy showing critical period.
The majority of our business, so you better get good at it. It's like 80% of our business. About
It's good because
90% of the time, we
client,
will never pay off their mortgage.
you just feel like you're genuinely helping them. You know, after they understand it and repeat it back to you, and they're like, hey, this 6 months is gonna get my things in order. Like it feels good.
Right. I love that. Right. So again, words that you're using, right? It still has to do with happiness advantage. How do you sound? How are you explaining options? Right? Are you cringing? Right, when you're talking about equity protection and it's only 6 months worth of more, like you gotta be excited about it, right? Like this is why reading your 10 pages in the morning is so important because it will dictate your entire day. Again, I am excited by how I get to help a family all day, how I help an agent all day. Like for me, it's to be on here with all of y'all and be able to help y'all understand how equity protection, critical period really works, gets y'all more money in your bank accounts, gets the family more coverage, right? Like that's exciting, right? Are you not excited about what we do because you're just in a bad place right now? Like you're going to get past it, I promise, if you put in the work, right? If you're willing to pay the price, Jim Larson said it yesterday. If you're willing to go pay the price, let me tell you, I'm excited. I hope y'all hit a wall. I hope you hit a wall and you come to the realization of maybe I should quit. Because let me tell you, if any one of you ever want to call me at that moment, I promise you the first thing out of my mouth is going to be, well, don't you think you should quit? Because I will tell you, if you're not willing to dial 200 dials a day, if you're not willing to go train yourself, if you're not willing to go figure this out, my suggestion is, in case y'all forgot, we all got bills to pay. You should probably go get another job. Because I don't want you to be here broke. I want you to be here highly profitable. We work for the 9th highest paying company in the country. Let me give y'all permission. Chris Cook did this to me a long time ago because I told him I couldn't do this. He goes, Joe, You are anointed. You are now a top producer. So I do this to all of y'all. Y'all are now all top producers. Y'all are now allowed to go write 20,000 or more a month and deposit $10,000 or more a month. There you go. Now it's just you. Go out and do it, because you just got to be excited about it. What I understood when Mark Newbauer told me is, Joe, you can make 100K here. All you have to do is sit with 10 plus appointments. That's all you got to do. Figure that out. Whatever it is for you, you will have insane income here. You just got to be non-negotiable and excited about it. And right, I see so much activity right now in the organization. Guess what? That comes with a lot of no's. Be excited about a no. It's part of the process. I used to drive to somebody's house and I would knock on the door and they wouldn't be there. I had to train myself to get excited about that, Kevin, right? Because it was just part of the process. Your no right now is they didn't show up on Zoom and they didn't text you back. My no was 45 minutes driving to somebody's house, knocking on the door for about 10 minutes. If the gate was open, I'd go to the back door and knock on the back door. Nope. All right. And I had to be excited because it was part of the process, right? You go for no, whatever your business is at, I know, right? Every 6 no's, I get a yes. So it was just simply a no. Didn't matter why did that. I need no reasoning behind it. It's just part of the system. My 6 no, I get some apps, right? I get, right, an average number. Every 4 to 6 people you sit with, then you get a yes. Y'all remember that number, because I promise you, once you get to like 12 or 15 sits, it's going to always add up and you're going to hate it, right? But the cool thing is now you know it. Every 4 to 6 sits, you will have an app. That is our average throughout the country, right? Just understand it. It doesn't mean your first 4 to 6 no's, right? That just means every 4 to 6 no's, you get an app, right? So understand that you can go with 12 sits and barely get your first app or second app, right? But it'll always average out. You just got to fall in love with it and be excited, because Amber, you said this so well, right? It's the next appointment. The next appointment could be, right, Alicia, the $450 app. So you better be excited, because you can't pick them up out of the lineup. Like Nate said, it could be the grumpy one. It could be the excited one. It could be the one that this doesn't even make sense for them, but they just want it. It could be the one that really needs it. You don't know. So you
And have fun with your no.
Yeah, you better be excited about the next appointment.
Have fun with your no's. Call your running buddy, call your upline and be like, this is what they told me, and just laugh about it, right? Like there's so many times I'll call you and be like, this is what they said. Or I'll call James and be like, listen to this.
Yeah, stop trying to do this by yourself. There's too many of us doing it together. That's why the workrooms are insane. You got to have fun with it. The next one, happiness advantage. Phone a friend, right? You should, if you're in an appointment, in case y'all don't know, you should be able to phone a friend. Okay. You do not get off your appointment without calling somebody in the appointment. What Mark Newbauer and Steve Devine told me, Joe, if you feel you're not getting an app, you better call me. My first 81 applications that I ever submitted got approved because of that process. I didn't know what a decline was for 81 applications because I phoned a friend. Inside of every appointment, if you feel something's wrong, something changed, it doesn't sound like this, the health conditions changed, phone a friend, right? Your upline should know you're running an appointment. Why are you trying to do this by yourself? I know why. I had an ego. I didn't want to do it. You're only trying to do this by yourself because if you don't get the app and you don't get a yes, guess what? You don't have to tell your upline that you ran an appointment. That's the reality. Because other than that, why wouldn't you want your upline to help you write an app for you to make $700? Right? Or in Alicia's case, $2,200. Why wouldn't you want that? Right? Get yourself out of your own way. Stop trying to do this by yourself. We are here to help you. We're a huge organization, right? Work on your even process, right? You should have a tablet or a phone. You can run your Zoom. You could be in a workroom, right? Jennifer's so good at it. Alicia's good, right? Like they're running an appointment and they'll just unmute, be like, hey, this is going on right now, right? And then we tell them, and then they go and fix it, right? I think Holly just posted on that. She was writing the app. Hey, something's going on. She jumped in the room. She unmuted, asked us a question. Boom, got the app. Stop
Josie
trying to
just
do this
called
by
me in her
yourself.
appointment.
Yeah, call. Like, stop trying to do this by yourself. There's too many happy people around you trying to make you happy. Right? Like, be excited about what you all can do, because the possibilities are just insane. I think that's everything I had written down. James, I don't know. Anyone have any questions on any of that? Right? We have a very unique situation of being able to help a family here, right? Like,
Yeah,
posture
Joe.
yourselves there. Yeah.
Stepping back earlier, we talked about three things to have in place. One was the best script, we memorized 8 pages. The second was role and purpose. And there's a third item, I missed it.
The real script.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, very good.
Yep.
That's all I got. Thanks.
Yeah, absolutely. Elizabeth?
Yes, hi. I have a question about how that would sound in an appointment. Like, how would you phrase that if you need to phone a friend in an appointment because the situation has changed with the client?
Great question. Hey, hold on. I just want to make sure I have the right options for you. I'm going to call my manager real quick. Please hold. And just mute. You're not asking for permission. You're telling them what the process is. My process is I call my helpline every single appointment. So you don't have to ask for permission. Hey, I'm just going to phone my manager real quick, make sure I got the right options for you. I'm just going to mute myself really quick. You mute yourself and you call.
Perfect. Okay. Easy enough.
Every single appointment. I was just doing this through my base shop, right? We train our leaders, right? So I'm going to use Amber, James, and Nathan right now in my base shops, right? And James Agency, right? We build, we recruit, we invest money. We don't see a dollar. We don't see a dime until we help you help someone. Our mission in life here in Symmetry is to help you write business, right? So what I teach our leaders is, hey, you should know every single appointment your agency has. They should be ready. You should help them, right? Be ready to help them write an app, because we won't see our return of investment in y'all until we help you write policies and be successful here.
Okay.
Massive passive income only comes from helping y'all. We want to help you. Stop trying to do this by yourself. There's no reason, right? Like, you see a new agent come in here and start kicking some butt. They're just simply following the system. They're calling their upline a whole bunch of times. They're figuring it out. Like Kevin Wilder, dude, when you exploded, right? He was like, oh, I just started calling Jordan every time. And I stopped trying to figure this out by myself, right? How many of y'all have ran an appointment and your upline didn't know? Don't answer that, but stop. Right? Let us prep every single, let me see your options. If you're in my team, let me see your options every single appointment. I want you to write the apps I wrote. I want you to write the apps Amber writes. I want you to write the apps Elijah writes, $40,000, $50,000, right? You just stop trying to do this by yourself. There's too many of us wanting to help, right? But there's a process. You just follow it. It's exciting. I love it when y'all call us, right? I got to see an email from Alicia and I'm like, holy cow, tell me that got approved. And she's like, I don't know. I'm like, it's all right, let's go find out. And we found out, and she's like, holy cow. I'm like, hey, you just made $2,200 off of that one. And she's like, whoa. Like, it's the coolest thing for y'all. We want to help y'all, right? And shout out to Rochelle. She helped you through that whole process to get that app, right? Like that's what your upline is for. We want to help you. Stop trying to do this by yourself. Elizabeth.
Yeah. At what point in the appointment would you make that call?
Whenever you feel is necessary. If you think something's going wrong, if you think they're being rude, if you think at any point, I don't know what's right, I don't know, phone a friend. That's what we're here for, right? Stop.
Say I've reached out. Sorry to overtalk you. Say I've reached out to you or Jeff ahead of time with my underwriting. You guys have looked all through it and you're like, yep, good to go. If nothing changes in the appointment, do I still call you anyway?
You should call. If you feel you're not going to write an app, you should call your upline.
Okay. Just if I feel the wind changing. Gotcha.
Just sometimes us saying, okay, Brooke, remember, Brooke was trying to write some app and she called me one time. And all the guy told me was, Joe, do you have this? Yep. Okay, great.
No, child's policy. I was trying to get him a child's policy, and I'm like, yeah, I don't have children. So I called Joe. Joe's got children. Joe has 4 of these. I call him, and Joe's like, yep, got 4 of them. He goes, and you would do, yep. He's like, okay, I got it. I'll do it. I mean, that's literally all Joe said was, I have this on myself. And just because a professional had this, he was like,
Right.
okay, I need
Right.
this.
In a restaurant business, right? It was, hey, can you call your manager? And the manager would just come and smooth it over, right? Allow that in your business here too. You're just call your manager, and then they'll say, okay, sweet, and then you're writing an app. It's insane. Cody?
Hey, Joe. What's the fine line in communication, or what does your process look like on a graded product with like a 2-year hold, etc.? Like, what does that look like?
What do you mean? Like, how do I explain it?
Yeah, without going into too much detail, but just enough. Like, I hold my posture gets real weak when I'm communicating about the 2-year.
That's a good one, right? Again, I'm excited. Realize if
Mhm.
you're going graded, that means they're more than likely going to need this policy. They're
Right.
not healthy. So I poke the bear, right? I'm
Okay.
like, hey, because of that heart attack or 2 months ago, right? The great thing is, again, I'm excited. The great thing, Cody, is I got a company that's going to get you covered, right? This is what's called it's a guaranteed issued, is what I tell them. It's a guaranteed issued. That means there's a 24 waiting period for you to pass away of a health condition. But guess what, Cody? If you pass of an accident, it pays the full policy out. So it's always active, right? And if you were to pass away anytime in between there, it gives you all your money back plus 10%. Way better than the bank. It's a win-win no matter what.
And then what's your middle initial and go into the
Yep.
application?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's do that.
All right, thank
Right?
you.
Think about it. So many of us get scared. That's a great question. So many of us get scared when we deal with a really sick person or right, something like that. That's your best client because you have something that they can absolutely get approved for. No matter what, I got a policy. Think about it. When you're writing term 100, you're like, oh, I hope it can get approved. Right? And then I'm going to have to pivot if it gets declined, Nathan. Right? Hey, guess what? You just found the one that you know is going to get approved no matter what. I don't even have to pivot from there. I'm excited. I'm going to show you the options. It's going to get approved. Boom. It's going to be my easiest appointment. It's the appointment where they need it the most. Right? Now it's just their decision. Do you want this? Do you see the value? Yes or no? I'm excited. Those are my easiest appointments, right? If you call us for underwriting, right, James, they're like, hey, they're cancer, this and that. I'm like, oh, sweet. That's a $500,000 accidental, easy giveaway, right? And we're gonna get them equity protection with AIG or brokerage. Boom, both guaranteed issued. You don't have to worry about a rewrite. Those should be the most exciting apps because again, I like to cringe a little bit when I'm getting a good size app and I'm doing a term 125 or 100 because it has to say approved, right? Versus if I'm going to write a core bridge and an accidental, they're instant approve. I'm like done, right? It's just how you look at it and how excited you are. Yeah,
that is true. And to Joe's point, Cody, you would be surprised. My last two with AIG, when you explain to them that in those first 2 years, they're going to get their premiums back plus 10%. I literally have the client saying, and again, I think it's all also how you deliver it, right? They're like, oh, wow, I get 10% in addition. That's I literally
better than the bank.
And I think I've been saying it honestly with more excitement, not like, not like overly, but I think recently the way I've been, because I didn't actually have that commentary in the past, but recently it's like, oh, wow. And I get 10% on top of that. And like, they're actually like excited, instead of just, oh, I don't get the immediate death benefit until year 3. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
talk about the good stuff, right? The happiness
Thank you.
advantage, right? Don't say
Kind of a
it only
follow-up
does
to
this.
that.
Yeah.
Kind of a follow-up to that. What about when you think that they're going to be an immediate policy, but then it comes back, like for example, the move policy comes back and says, like, and you know how it does in the middle, like it says either favorable or graded or whatever. How do you kind of bridge into that and saying, great news, you're still approved, but this
again,
adjustment.
but is not a word I would use.
Right.
So, hey, great news. You did get accepted. It's going to be a graded policy, right? It's guaranteed issued, right? So awesome. You're approved.
Do y'all even like for my clients, and call me out if I'm wrong, if I'm just being a bad agent, sometimes like my client that went graded the other day, I just told them they're approved. They got it in the mail. We did the policy review. They knew it's graded. They saw it. They didn't mention it. I didn't say anything about it. Should I start saying like, okay, great news. This is graded. Like, should I start saying that like in
Yeah,
the
I always
appointment?
tell mine, right? I always tell them, hey, it's going to be right. I tell them it's guaranteed issue. You got approved, right? There's going to be a 24-month waiting period. Again, you get 10% on top of, right, your money back. Passive an accident, you're still paying